Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Okay, today we are diving into a really focused micro lesson on navigating workplace dynamics and managing those all-important upward relationships. And get this, the source material we're looking at today, it is literally just 2 sentences long, no joke. But man, does it cut straight to the core of professional development and mindset mastery. We hear the word mindset thrown around all the time, right? But today, we're going to deconstruct it word by word to see how it actively, practically shapes your daily interactions at work. Let's just jump right in. So, here it is. We are grounding our entire analysis in these exact 2 sentences, which serve as this really powerful core philosophy for anybody trying to move up in their career. Choose your attitude. A negative attitude may not help you develop a healthy relationship with your superiors. That's the whole thing. That's the entirety of the text we're analyzing today. But honestly, do not let that brevity fool you. Packed right in there is a starting action, a clear warning about a common pitfall, and the ultimate consequence of falling into it. Let's break this down into its individual pieces so we can really grasp the weight of what's being advised here. Let's start right at the top with those first 3 words, choose your attitude. You know, what's absolutely fascinating here is the heavy emphasis on the word choose. It implies that your workplace mindset isn't just some inherent trait you're stuck with. It is absolute active autonomy. We all do this, right? We talk about having a bad day or waking up on the wrong side of the bed, kind of like our attitude is just something that happens to us, like the weather. Well, this text completely rejects that idea. By using an imperative verb, it puts the responsibility squarely on your shoulders. It asserts that before you log in, before you even step foot in the office or speak up in a meeting, you hold the power to select the mental framework you're going to operate from. It's empowering, but yeah, maybe a little intimidating too, because it means you are completely in the driver's seat. Let's contrast this idea of making an intentional, active choice with just letting a mindset happen to you organically. First, picture the active choice. Let's say you're assessing a super stressful situation. Maybe your project budget literally just got slashed. But you deliberately decide, okay, I'm going to remain constructive. Now compare that to the unintentional state, where your environment completely dictates your feelings. Say a colleague is kind of short with you, and boom, you immediately get defensive. Or, maybe you draft that passive-aggressive Slack message you're absolutely going to regret later. The source material is basically demanding that we abandon that unintentional state entirely. It requires us to treat our attitude as an active daily practice. Because if you aren't actively choosing your attitude the same way you choose what clothes you wear to work, you are leaving your professional demeanor completely up to chance. Okay, so once we accept that we actually have to make a choice, we also have to acknowledge there are some really unhelpful choices out there. And the text explicitly calls out one in particular, negativity. Now, why is negativity considered a trap? Well, think about it. In a high-pressure work environment, a negative attitude can actually feel pretty justified, right? It can feel like realism, like you're just pointing out how incredibly difficult things actually are. But here's the kicker. The source material doesn't care about our justifications. It simply identifies negativity as a specific, counterproductive input. It's a trap precisely because it is so easy to slip into. Yet, as we'll see next, it fundamentally derails exactly what you're trying to achieve professionally. The text provides this stark warning by specifically isolating a negative attitude as the direct input that leads to undesirable professional outputs. Just look at the phrasing here. May not help you. It's almost hilariously understated, isn't it? But if you know anything about professional communication, you know this kind of polite, diplomatic corporate phrasing is actually a massive, glaring red flag. It's the nice way of saying that a negative attitude is going to actively hinder you. It's going to create major friction against your goals. When you bring that negative mindset to the table, focusing on problems instead of solutions, being super cynical, or just resisting direction, you're basically throwing up a roadblock right in the middle of your own career path. The text singles out this negative attitude not to shame anyone, but to explicitly define the exact variable that wrecks workplace dynamics. And this brilliantly illustrates the direct consequence of that roadblock. Your attitude completely dictates whether or not your relationship with leadership can be classified as healthy. So what exactly does a healthy relationship mean in this context? Well, it implies trust. It implies mutual respect, open communication, and a real willingness to collaborate. It means your superiors actually view you as an asset, a problem solver they can genuinely rely on. The source text makes this direct, unshakable link. A negative attitude stops this health from ever forming. You simply cannot build a foundation of trust and reliability on a bedrock of cynicism and negativity. They are literally incompatible elements in the workplace ecosystem.
Honestly, you can just picture it as a giant scale, right? On one side, you've got a negative attitude. On the other side is that healthy relationship you're working so hard to develop. If you lean into the negativity, you actively pull away from the healthy relationship. It's a zero-sum game. If you want that healthy relationship, you literally have to actively push away from the negativity. The source material is basically handing us a simple equation here. Input A is never ever going to result in outcome B. It demands that we audit our daily behaviors, because every single time we express our chosen attitude, we're either investing in the health of our professional relationships or we're actively degrading them. According to this text, there is absolutely no middle ground.
Let's zoom in a bit and see how this builds specifically toward managing upward relationships with your superiors, because that is the ultimate focus of this warning. Notice how the text doesn't just say a negative attitude hurts all relationships. I mean, it probably does, right? But it specifically deliberately targets your superiors. Why is that distinction so absolutely crucial? Well, because your superiors literally hold the keys to your professional advancement. They control the assignments, the promotions, and basically the whole trajectory of your career at that organization. Managing upward, navigating that hierarchy is incredibly delicate stuff. Superiors aren't just evaluating your hard skills, they're constantly looking at your soft skills. Are you manageable? Are you draining their energy, or are you boosting the team's momentum? A negative attitude directed upward is incredibly toxic because it simply makes your boss's job harder, which effectively destroys any shot you had at building a healthy, mutually beneficial dynamic. So by deconstructing just these two little sentences, we can clearly map out a direct, step-by-step causal link between the mindset you walk in with and your upward mobility. Step 1 is the foundation. You have to intentionally choose your attitude. Step 2 acts as the filter. You have to actively dodge the trap of a negative mindset. And then step 3 is the payoff for mastering the first two. You actually create the conditions necessary to develop and maintain a healthy, productive relationship with those superiors. It's amazing, really. The source material, as brief as it is, gives us this complete operational blueprint. It all starts in the mind, translates directly into your behavior, and ultimately ends with professional success. To wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on your own desk for a second. The text we just explored leaves zero room for excuses. It doesn't blame the boss, it doesn't blame the heavy workload, and it doesn't blame company culture. It places the ultimate responsibility squarely on your own conscious choice. So, as you head back to your emails, your meetings, and your projects, consider this final provocative thought. What attitude are you going to choose today? Because based on the reality of the text we just unpacked, your answer is directly going to determine the health of your career. Thanks so much for joining me today on The Explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and hey, make the right choice.